I wish I could find a good tutorial to make a realistic football game on Roblox.
Let me show you how. And maybe if you lock in, you can become one of them.
The team choosing system now has team from Champions League with a cup system. There's a sprinting system that affects dribbling by moving the ball further like a pass. The shooting got more realistic, and there is an end screen with Leaderboard, Hall of Fame, one gain, and leveling system, as well as a lot of special effects. It also remembers if a player has scored in his own goal, or if someone has assisted the goal. I created a new script called Assign Teams, which handles the cup system. Here we have a table called Match Rounds, which has all the folders of the rounds. Here there's a table called Team Stats, with every team from the cup system, and a win rate, which is basically how likely they are to win. Here I have a function called Reset Teams, which puts back the teams in their default states. So here we have the table called Teams, and it goes with the team table that I showed previously, and it inserts every team from this table. Then it returns the table. Then there is this function called Shuffle Teams, which makes a team be in a random order by making a table called Shuffled and then doing a for loop. First number is where it's gonna start, which is #list. The list, which is the team table, it moves until it gets to number 1 and moves by -1 every time. So here we make a random number from 1 to the index, and we insert the team from a random position in this new table, and we also remove it from this previous table. Then we return the results of the shuffle table. Here we have a function called getScore, which is basically like a FIFA team match simulator. So here we get the margin between the two teams' win rates, and if the margin is greater than 10, we give a bonus of 1, and so on. And here the base is just a random number to randomize the scores a little bit. So here we have it. It returns the results. Well, this is set to true. As I said before, the teams that are better are more likely to win. Here we have a function called Simulate Match. So we have the first team and the second team. We have a function called Simulate Match. We have match the first team and the second team. Here we change the values to match the name of the team. Here we assign the scores to the teams, and we return a winner function that is gonna handle the rounds. The first argument is the round folder. Here we have input teams, which is the folder that we are gonna use, and we are gonna go through. And here is the number of the round. So here we have a table called winners. Here we have a for loop. So we go through the teams table, and we jump by 2 because these are matches. And here we get the first team, and for the second team, it's gonna be easy if the index is at 1. But since we jump by 2, if it's not at 1, we are gonna get the team next to it. So now I had to manually change the number of the match we are at. So here we update the actual folders to the new change we made. In this while loop, we verify if it has a greater score. If the first team has a greater score, it labels the first team as the winner, and it puts it in the winner table. And it's gonna be the same thing with the second team. But it's only if the teams are played by actual players. If there's not actual players playing those teams, then it's gonna simulate the match. So here there's while true loop. We start by shuffling the teams. Then we go through each round until there's the final winner. I continued the game in a new file because the previous file was very messy, to the point that I could not go back to the older script, and I was trying to find everything. This is the script to do special effects when you get tackled. To make the effects, we use the camera and the tween service. We set different goals to the tween to make the head of the player move. Then we get the tween information. Make sure to add color correction and blur to the lighting. Now we make goals to change the contrast, the tint color, and the saturation. I also make other tweens, but that are tweening the blur. Then of course I have animations for when the player falls on the ground, and also for when he gets up. Then we verify if any part of the character is hit by something else. And we check if this something else is a player, another player. And we also check if the player that got tackled can get tackled at the moment. And we set the camera to scriptable. Then we give different results depending on how much time the other player has clicked on the button to tackle him, while the player can't get tackled or get up because he's stopped by the tackle. After that, he can get up and he can get tackled again. So here is the new updated version of tackling server script. So as you can see here, we have an argument for the time, which is the time the player has pressed on the button. We basically check if the player is allowed to sprint at the moment, if he's able to do based on his energy level. Then we decrease his energy level from 100 to 1 or to 0 until he stops pressing the shift button. If he didn't have enough energy, he just won't sprint. Then the other part is when he releases the bot, so now the energy levels rises. For the sprinting effects, I use tune surface again to tween the color correction and also the blurring. We also have speed lines, and the link for them will be in the description. Now every frame we check if the player is sprint, and we apply the settings for the speed line. In this function we check again if the player is sprint. If he's not, we change the value. We then start twinning the color correction and the blurring. Then there is another function called stop sprint, which basically does the opposite. Then we have this function called update movement, where we check if the player is moving. Then if he is moving while pressing on shift and he has enough energy left, he starts sprinting. But if one of these criteria aren't met, he will stop sprinting. This last function that I showed you will be played every frame. So not every time the player presses or unpresses the shift key, we can verify if he's allowed to sprint. So here is the script for the shooting effects. Again, between the blurring and the color correction. When the player clicks the right mouse button, were already playing, we stop them by cancelling them. The guy shoots value is changed to the player's name. Play the first tweens that are used when the player is aiming, and if the player stops aiming, you just get back to the previous settings. So here is a script to make an animation with a special effect. Well, if you don't want to waste time and make a football game really quick, you can buy it on my website fully or only the essentials. Player score. So again, we set a goal for the twinning, then we make them play in a loop. And I also twin the camera to make the shaking effect, changing the field of view, which is basically how zoomed the camera is. This is a script for the leveling system animation. Again, you guessed it, we're gonna use twin service. This function called get XP for level, we have this argument n, which is gonna be the XP that is gonna be used to find which level we are currently at. Here we get a total XP for the previous level, and here for next level we can get the next XP. Every time XP changes, we run those functions. We then calculate how much XP there is between each levels. We then calculate how much XP is left to the next level. Then we calculate the percentage of the space between levels. We then place the bar according to the percent horizontally. Then we check if the percentage to the next level is lower than it was before. If it is, we cancel any existing tween, because it wouldn't make sense for the bar to go back. So we make it finish to the next level before coming back to the beginning, and then setting a new goal to make a normal tween. But if all of that isn't the case, we just play a normal tween. In the script called next XP, we use some of the same functions I showed earlier to calculate and show the XP needed for the next level. And every time the level changes, we update this. And then again, the same thing, the same types of functions for this other script that is to show the XP for the previous level. And in this other script, we are again using, we're just showing the next level that we're gonna have to be at. And in this other script, we'll just show the current level we are at. So we just have to check every time the level of the player has changed, and then we do this. This script is just to make the level bar and level animation visible anytime the level changes and the XP changes. I also added the team of defaults spectators that is auto-assignable, which means that by default you're this team. Disable auto-assignable for the other teams. The script to update the position. We use our update position remote event, a remove position remote event. In the choose position function, we have an argument for the UI that's going to be clicked. If it does, we verify whether or not someone has claimed this position. If the player already has a position, he already has send the remove position remote event. Then we add the new position, which is the name of the UI, and we fire the update position remote event. We then change the value of the player's position, but then call this function for every UI of the first team. So this is the script to change the text of the UIs when they get selected by player's position. So in this for loop, we loop through all of these UIs and we check if there's not undesirable UIs that we don't want to use. Then we check if the value of the position isn't empty, and we change the text to the player's name if the position isn't empty. But if not, we just put the text claim. And this other script is just to adjust the visibility of the UI. And we have similar scripts for the second team. And remember to write team 2. I also made this loop to make sure that the team choose UI isn't visible if we aren't playing a game. This script is for spawning the players. We receive the spawn remote event. Then we check if what is the name of the player, and then we can set the keyframe of the player to the part that is assigned to this position. Then I fire the remote event to give the shirts to the players. So this is the script to change the text of the UIs when they get selected by player's position. In server-side script, we have the update position remote event, which is this one here. And when the remote event is connected, we have the player argument for send the old argument, which is the old position of the player, that is going to be removed, and the team argument. So we'll check which team the player is, and depending on the team, in the folder, we remove the value of the player position, and we set it to empty. Then we set the player to his team. Get the remote event with the new position argument and the team. We just verify the teams and set the position to the new player's name, value of the position, and give the new team to the player. And for the goalkeeper server-side script, depending on which side he's gonna jump, we give a linear velocity to a different angle. In the speed dribble script, we first remove the control of the ball to the current player, and we disable the current player to control the ball for a small moment. Then we remove the ball from him, we detach it from him, so we destroy the motor 60 and make sure the ball is can't collide. And I set it to the speed collision group, which can only touch the ground and the field in general. And remember to set network owner to null. This is very important. And we set the position in front of the player here. And we calculate the direction, generate a force, and use apply impulse on the ball. We set the assist value, the recent baller value, and the last baller value. After 1 second, ball returns to its default normal collision group, and can control value is set to nil, doing leader sets. So we have the function to load the data with a pickle. I'll make a tutorial on the pickles. And we have a function to get the rewards at the end of the games, to transfer the temporary money and XP to the real one. And I have a while loop where I level up every time the XP is enough for the next level, and if the game time is at 0, I can give the rewards to the players. If the player is leaving, I can save the data. In this script called onField, we get this remote event on client, and then we change the value of on the onField to indicate that the player is on the field. And on the not onField script, it's the opposite. We get the not onField remote event fired, and we change the value to false. I changed some things in the round script, like for example, end screen show fire client, which will indicate that the end screen UI can be shown to the player. This game on value, that is to indicate if the game is being played, and the in-cup value to indicate if a cup has started yet, and also the not on field remote event to put the players out of the field. Remember to join the group, link in description, because here you make the games, your voice will be heard, and priorities is to make fun games. I also share how I make the game in devlog, currently making the football game, and I need you, so what are you waiting for? Click the join link in the description to make your dream game happen with us, and invite your friends to the journey. is the script for the end screens. So I have a function called Leaderboard UI. I first get the players, and I create a table called My Tab. I then sort to all the players in a for loop, and insert all of them with their names and their match XP value. Then use the table sorts function to sort them in order, make the leaderboard in order. The number 2 is for the match XP and the number 1 is for the name of the players. I go through the My Tab in the for loop, and I check if his name is already on the leaderboard, and if it's not, I create the UI with information such as the name, XP, goals and assists using the leader stats. I then create an image and I set the tilde type to headshot to get the head of the players, and for the content I'm gonna get the first player in the leaderboard, add the image to the content with all of his information. So this will be the best player in the match, and then I do the same thing but with the worst player. So the hashtag MyTab is just how much players are in there, so it's gonna get me the worst player. Then when I get an event, a remote event that tells me to show the UIs, call this function. This script is to animate the text when you receive or lose money. So we first check if the cash value got changed, and we see the difference between the change to change, see if the change is positive or negative. If the cash results is negative, we're going to change the color of the text to red, and we will make the number rise on increments of 20 in the for loop. Then the color of the text gets back to normal. And we do the same thing with if the number is positive, but instead of red, we do it in green. Then we reset the value of the old cache. And here is the script for the bills animation. For this one, we use twin service. Check again if the cache has changed, and if the cache result is positive. Then we go through a for loop of 5 iterations, and we make money bills images through from the start to the finish using twin service. Then again, we set the old cache value to it and reset.